Today, I want to give you an introduction to ChatGPT's new interface. It's just an introduction because there will likely be multiple follow-up videos because there's actually a lot that's different in here now. So just to get started, you would go to chatgpt.com and then you would log into your account and you get to this interface. And if you've been using this for a while, you can probably already see a pretty major difference where at the top here, you now have basically tabs and you can go between chat and work. And chat has been here forever. This is, chat GPT. This is the same chat interface that you had before and same stuff in here. So like chat is pretty much the same interface. So work is really the new thing. And if you're not familiar with Work, because this is pretty new for them, if you happen to be familiar with Claude, like Anthropic Claude, which is a different AI series of like set of models and set of tools, they have a tool called Claude Code, and it is basically mainly for developers or like technical people, and you can use your terminal or like your CLI, your command line interface, and then you can use Claude within that interface and you can do all kinds of stuff. You can interact with your file system, you can have it code, you can have it run all kinds of different commands on your machine or a bunch of stuff. And what happened with that was that a lot of people who use Claude, like we use Claude, but we're not tech engineers. We don't use CLI. We don't know what CLI is. We don't use terminals. We don't know what that is. So then Anthropic made a different product called Claude Cowork, and it was basically Claude Code for people who don't code and for kind of for everyone else. This is OpenAI's version where OpenAI has Codex, which is their coding tool and their tool for technical people, whether it's software engineers or just other people who are technologically aware and use CLIs or use terminals and use that kind of interface or prefer that kind of interface and can use Codex and OpenAI models within that world. But again, most people don't, most people who use ChatGPT and use these AI tools don't do that. So now they've made this tool so that you can basically have all the same functionality, but you don't have to use a command line interface. They call it Work. Again, it's if you use Claude Cowork, it's very similar from a high level. It's the same idea, but if you've never used that, or maybe you've never used any of this before, like this is going to be kind of different from what you're used to. So one of the first questions would be, what is the, like, when do you use chat and when do you use work? And my strong recommendation for this would be to go into the chat side and just ask it. And I already did this just so that you can kind of see what this would look like. But I would strongly, I'm not going to read through this whole thing because it gave me a lot of output, as you can see here, but I would strongly recommend you go to the chat side and put in this exact prompt. Compare and contrast the ChatGPT chat and work interfaces, and then it will give you whatever version of this output. And it gave me a table here, and it just gave a bunch of areas and then said chat, how it would be with chat, how it would be with work. So then you can just kind of go through, and I'll talk about some of these where it's just like at a really high level, like you would use a chat interface, basically an AI chat bot for questions or conversations. Like if you have a document and you want to have a quote unquote conversation with that document. So maybe you have like a, I don't know, 20-page financial report, and instead of reading through it to see whichever thing, you can upload that to a chat interface, and then you can ask a question of that interface, and then it can scan the document and then give you an answer back. That's pretty much what it means to have a quote unquote conversation with a document. Instead of reading through 20 pages, if you just have targeted questions, you can just ask the question of the AI tool, and then the tool can find the answer. It's usually kind of a one and done. So it's like you have one question at a time, or one set of one instruction at a time, and you go back and forth. That's something you do on the chat side. On the work side, it's more like multi-step tasks or projects, and it could be something that takes minutes, something that takes hours, something that takes days, something that takes weeks. You could have some kind of like research this very involved topic and then create an application for me that like it can be really involved, and people have been doing all kinds of things that literally last weeks with work, and you can give it the prompt and look through the plan that it gives you, and then just let it go, and maybe check in on it every couple of hours, every couple of days. But like it's very much meant for long work. Like work is an AI agent, where chat is an AI chatbot. And again, both of those have lots of different definitions and all kinds of stuff that we could say about it. But just if you're familiar with those terms, like that is the really high level difference between the chat side and the work side. But then, I mean, you can look through some more of the responses here. It's just like the chat side is best for fast, interactive exchanges, and then work is for longer multi-step assignments, as I kind of just mentioned. Typical input: chat is a question or a prompt. Work is more of an outcome. So it's not necessarily, hey, what is this thing, or where was this thing? It's more, I want to have a 20 slide deck about this thing, but I don't know these pieces. And you just pretty much tell it what you want. Maybe you tell it why you want it. And then you just kind of let it go. Again, typical up again. You can read through, you can pause and kind of read through the rest of this if you want. But I would just strongly recommend you just take that prompt and put it in the chat side of your own ChatGPT, because then, if maybe some of this output is confusing to you, you have some kind of follow-up, you can go back and forth versus just kind of reading what I have in here. But as it says here, the chat it's about a conversation. It's about, you want to know something, whether it's a question, whether it's an explanation of something, whether it's a summary of something. Like, you want to know something, and you want to have a quote unquote conversation with something, with a document, with just, you want to have a conversation with a chatbot about something, but it's really more about a conversation. That's why it's a chatbot. Where at work, it's about an outcome. It's about, if you have a team, if you have like direct reports, and at the beginning of the day, your team is like, hey, what are we doing today? And you're like, okay, Joe, you're going to do this. Susie, you're going to do this. Phil, you're going to do this. Check back with me in 4 hours. Like, it's more along those lines with the work interface. Again, you can read through the rest of this if you'd like, but I'm gonna now just kind of switch back over. But yeah, like in the work interface, and again, the interfaces, they look really similar. So it's like, if you've never used this before, it's just like it's kind of the same thing. It's really not. Behind the scenes. So in the chat interface, if you're used to it, you can just come in here and just put in a prompt and then just go. With the work interface, you usually want to create somewhere for it to actually, to actually work. So you would want to give it a project folder. These are all just test folders. I use this for training, but if I was going to do something in work here, I would actually make a new folder here and then call it, whatever, in this case, like test project 14. But I would give it a folder, like somewhere to work first. And then if I have things that I want to upload, I put it in there, and then I give it whatever outcome I want. And then I kind of go back and forth. Where are you? Yeah. So I have one in here. Like, if you go into work for the first time, I believe you'll get this interface, but this is more of what you'll see on the work side. It's like you're going to have sources and you can give it multiple things. You can add different files in here. I don't know if there's a limit yet. I think I've had this. I've had like at least a dozen different files that I've added in here, and it didn't give any pushback with that. And then as it goes through, it can create multiple different output files. So like this is just HTML, this is just a web page here, but it's like it can create all kinds of different like documents and spreadsheets and PDFs and images and videos and all kinds of stuff. And where again on the chat side, it would usually give you, like one thing at a time. Like this can just over time, it just might add multiple output files, dozens of output files, etc. It's you're probably better off if you come in here and you try it. Because this is much easier to just kind of like, okay, I have this task. Let me see what this would look like. And just come in here and give it something to actually work on. And then you can kind of see the difference. What I did in here earlier was I asked it to analyze how I use ChatGPT and then identify useful patterns and themes and create a visualization of my usage. And what it did was it came in here and it pretty much reiterates what you give it. Like this is a really, really simple instruction. Like you can give it pages of instructions. So it will start with just kind of summarizing what it thinks you're asking it to do, and then it'll give you a plan, and you can take the plan and you can either take it as is or you can kind of change it. This was kind of simple, so I didn't really do anything with it. And then this came out pretty quickly. I did it beforehand because, as I mentioned before, like these can take hours, days sometimes. So I didn't know how long this was going to take. This was actually pretty quick, but it just gave me back, this interface, and like it turned it into a web page too. I mean, it actually looks better in ChatGPT, but like this was the web page that it made. But just looking at it here, it has different buttons I can interact with, and then when I click on the different buttons, you see the text here changes. And maybe I don't like this at all, so I can come back in here and be like, no, I want the color to be blue. I want this to be this way. I don't want these buttons to be this way. And I can just kind of go back and forth again, like I would with a direct report. Like think if you have someone that works for you and you give them a task and they bring back either like the first version or maybe what they think is the last version. You're like, this doesn't work. Like I can't turn this in because of whatever. I need you to look at this, this, and this, and go back and fix it and then come back. You can do the same exact thing on here. It's like if this is like 50%, but it's like I don't want the nonprofit button. I want this to be blue. I don't want this to be here. I want the whole background to be, a different color. I want a different font. I want whatever the thing is. I can now just give it different instruction and then let it go. And it might take, another several hours or another day to do it. Then it'll come back when it's done. The other big thing that's changed in here is the new GPT models are available. So if you come in here in the model selector on the bottom right over here, the model at the top, these at the top are all new. So 5.6, GPT 5.6, there's Luna, Terra, and Sol. They've kind of named them similarly to how the Claude models are named. But this is basically from the most powerful at the top to the fastest at the bottom. And you have to kind of have an idea. You usually will just get a better idea if you just kind of try them out. OpenAI recommends, like if you don't know which one to use, to just start with Sol, which is the quote unquote most powerful one. Personally, I would say start with the middle one, or actually I really say start with the fastest one. But like I think that starting with the most powerful one, you kind of use up your usage much faster. And if it's a really simple task, you don't necessarily need the powerful model. But it's a different soapbox for a different day. But now you have all these different effort levels. And again, I would start with light, and then if it doesn't do your task, up at a certain level, then I would increase it. And then you also have a speed choice on here. You could do standard or fast. Know that as you do more powerful models and like more reasoning or effort and then higher speed, all those things will take up your usage faster. So depending on which plan if you're on like the $20 a month plan up to like the $200 a month plan, or more if you're on one of the enterprise plans, like you have a certain amount of usage, and all of these things take more usage. You are usually better off doing the things that take the least amount of your usage allocation so that you can do more stuff. But again, your use case is better than I do, but just know that if you do like Soul, Max, and Fast, you will not get too many things out of this. And it's like if it's like a 4-hour task, you might be half an hour in. It's like, oh, you're at your usage. Come back tomorrow. So just know that it's not usually recommended to just max everything out unless you have a pretty high dollar plan, like at least a $200 a month plan, or you're on like usage credits or using like API call or something where you're paying separately. But that's a whole different conversation. But again, there's a lot in here, but the whole reason why this is just an introduction is just if you haven't used ChatGPT for a while, or you use it every day and you just come in and it's different, this is a pretty significant difference to the interface and the options. And this is just the online version. Know that there's the desktop app as well. And on the desktop app, you can do chat, work, or you can do codecs. And codecs is the one that will go to your command line interface, to your terminal, if you know what those are. And then also work, it behaves a little bit differently if it's on your desktop, where instead of having a project online, you could basically create a folder on your computer, and then whichever model you choose can actually access your file system and read files that you put in that folder and then copy files to that folder. So the experience is a little bit different if you're on the desktop app. You can also connect plugins. So this is, I think there were like 1,400 different plugins. So obviously not going to go through all or even most of those, but it's just like, here's a kind of a sampling of them. You can browse all plugins from there. But it's like, let's say you're going to connect like Google Drive, for example, and you connect Google Drive, and then you can use things from your Google Drive, whether it's like docs or sheets or whatever, as input files for whatever tasking you're going to give work. You can add skills in here. You can add so much stuff. There will likely be multiple follow-up videos to just kind of go through and kind of dissect some of the different things. But high leveling this, when you go to chatgpt.com now, you have multiple options in here. You can go to the chat interface, which is what you've been using the whole time if you've been using ChatGPT, or you now have a work option, and this is analogous to Claude Cowork. It is basically the less technical version of OpenAI Codex. Less technical as far as you're not going to go on the terminal, but it is just as powerful as Codex, and it can do a lot of different things. But I would strongly recommend that you go in, and if you're not familiar with Claude Cowork and you're not familiar with this tool from OpenAI, put in this prompt, compare and contrast ChatGPT, chat, and work interfaces. Read through the output. There's also OpenAI's basically introduction post for ChatGPT Work. We'll link this in the description. You can read through it, and there's multiple videos in here, and there's a ton of stuff in here. I'll scroll down to they have a couple of examples of just like different teams and what you can do in here. I will pick, actually, marketing's not a bad choice. I'll let the marketing one run through just so you can kind of get an idea of what you could do if you were not a technical person. So to come in here, you select work, like this is your prompt. Go through here and read through these files, and then create a slide deck and put it in this folder. And it goes through. Now here's a PowerPoint deck that it creates. And then pull in the latest results, show what changed. And then now you're using Adobe Marketing Agent to pull performance information, et cetera, et cetera. Again, this is really like in Exchange, like if you have a team member and it's just like, hey, go and can you create me a slide deck? And I'm like, okay, now go and do this performance data in here and go and do this. Like this is much more action oriented. This is more do the things. Don't just give me an answer to a question. Let me see here. Almost done with the video. So, I mean, that is just the marketing example on here. Again, you can see there's finance, there's ops, there's sales, there's data analytics, and there's engineering. There are multiple example videos that they have on here. And again, powered by GPT 5.6. We kind of talk about those models briefly and a couple of people who say how great it is. But again, we'll link this in the description so you can kind of look through it. But between that post from them and then if you put in this prompt, I think you'll get a really good overview of what you can do. And I really think that the best thing is just to go into the work interface and put in something that you want it to do. Just give it an outcome, give it some kind of, read these files and create me a slide deck or whatever is in line with what you do, but just like give it a task as if it was a coworker or a direct report and just look at the difference in how it behaves versus the chat interface. And then you're kind of off to the races at that point. So again, this is just kind of an intro to the new interface in here and some of the new options. We'll have multiple follow-up videos to talk about some more specifics. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.